Hello everyone. Today we are going to start with the topic unit cell and different types of unit cells. So let us understand the meaning of the word unit cell first. The definition of unit cell can be written as the smallest repeating unit. So unit cell means the smallest repeating unit of any crystal system. Alright, let me explain to you with the help of this rubric cube, in which you may consider that these small units are nothing but unit cells. If you assume them to be cubes, you can see that they are all having fixed positions and they are going to be spread out in all the three directions. So each of these x-axis, y-axis and the z-axis, you can see that they are all spreading in proper way in all the three directions. When this happens, I get in hand a big lattice which is called as crystal lattice or space lattice. So right now I am holding, let us say, a crystal lattice. Alright, so this big thing now is called crystal lattice. So the definition of unit cell would be, it's the smallest repeating unit which when repeated in all the three directions generates the entire crystal lattice. Alright, so that's your definition. Now let us understand what are the characteristics of the unit cell. How would you distinguish between the different types of unit cells? The first characteristic of the unit cell is the length of its sides, edge lengths. We can classify them as A, B, C. Like for example, in this particular unit cell which we are drawing, these are the edges which I have drawn, and this will be my cubic unit cell because it is having the cubical shape, and the cubical unit cell will be having same edge lengths. That is, the edge length will be A, B and C. So we may say in this case the three edge lengths are going to be equal. Similarly, they will have angles in between the edges or in between the faces, known as interfacial angles. So in this case, the interfacial angles are going to be 90 degrees in this diagram. Alpha, beta and gamma are the interfacial angles. So each unit cell can be differentiated from the other unit cell on the basis of these two parameters. And if you start repeating the unit cell in all the directions, from right side, from the left side and from the top, you will get a big crystal whose shape will be exactly like the smallest unit cell. Let us see the definition of space lattice. So the space lattice is defined as a regular three-dimensional arrangement of constituent particles in the crystalline solid. It has to be a regular systematic pattern of arrangement, and the constituent particles can be any of the entities, like they can be atoms, you can have ions, you can also have molecules. Alright, so these are the constituents which we have to arrange in a regular pattern so as to get a big crystal system. Now we will see what are the various types of unit cells. Unit cells basically are of two types: the simple unit cells known as primitive unit cells, in which the constituents are present only at the corners, and the second is non-primitive unit cells, also known as centered unit cells, in which the constituents are present at various positions, not only at the corners. So primitive unit cell, we will see what is the classification. The constituents are going to be present at the main positions, that is corners. They are going to be present at the corners, but in non-primitive unit cells, the constituents will be present not only at the corners but also at some other positions. So we will have two positions, corner position and some other positions as well. Those positions can be the centers of your body or the centers of faces. So these are the two types. Now let me explain in detail about what is a primitive unit cell with a special emphasis on cubical unit cell. First we will draw a cube which will be my miniature unit, which will be my unit cell. Now this is a particular geometrical pattern. Let us take the constituents in the form of globules. We will take them in the form of spherical objects. We have connected the spherical objects from their centers in a regular pattern and we have drawn lines. So total number of such constituents which we can see in this cube are looking like 8. So we'll just write down number of corners into contribution at the corner. Though it appears that there is one complete ball at one corner, actually speaking, each of the ball is going to be shared from various cubes on all the sides. So from all the sides you will see that the spherical ball is going to be shared by total 8 such cubes. Hence we will not say that this is complete one ball here, but actually it is shared by 8 such cubes, so it is 1/8 of the contribution. So that's my atom and it's being shared by 8 such cubes. 8 unit cells are going to share this. So let's complete this. Total number of corners which we can see in this diagram is 8, and how much contribution is there going to be at each corner? It's going to be 1/8 shared by 8 unit cells. So if we solve this, the answer comes out to be 1. So total number of atoms in a simple unit cell will be 1. Alright. Now let us talk about non-primitive or centered unit cells. We will have 3 different categories of non-primitive cells. So here the constituents will be not only at the corners but also at some other positions. Like you can have them at the body center, you can have them at the face centers, and so on. So we will be having 3 types. Body centered. So here I'll be drawing the atoms at the corners of the cube first. So this is essentially you have to draw them at the corners, and then you have to draw one of the constituents at the center. So I've used different color for that, so we understand that one atom is at the center. And if we talk about the number of atoms, we will have to first write how many corners are there, how many body centers are there. So we have 8 corners and we have 1 body center. And at corner, the contribution of each atom is not complete, but it is only 1/8. Alright. So because it's shared by 8 such cubes, that is why we are going to write 1/8 contribution at corner. That will be my diagram from all the sides. You can imagine that from every side we will be having cubes, and but in the case of body center we will say, alright, we'll just complete this first. And at the body center, the center is going to be not shared by any other unit cell, so the contribution at body center is whole. So total number of atoms in a body centered unit cell is 2. The second type of non-primitive unit cell is going to be face centered unit cell. As the name signifies, we are going to draw the atoms not only at the corners but also at the centers of 6 faces. We are going to have 6 faces, mind well. So we will draw at the center 1 atom each. So how does it look like? We'll just have a look at this first. So this is my face, and each at at each face, at the top, at the bottom, at every, so total 6 are there. So everywhere you're going to imagine that we have 1 ball at the center. At the back side, center of that, in the front, in the center of that. So total we have drawn 6 faces, we have drawn 6 such atoms, but each atom on the center at each face is going to be shared by 2. So again, corners contribution is 1/8 into number of corners 8, so it comes out to be 1. Similarly, at the face we have, how much is the contribution at the face? We have, so we will be having 6 faces, and the contribution at each face is going to be half. If you look, this constituent will be shared by another cube on the top, so it will be half shared by one and half by the other on the top. So we'll be writing it as 1/2 is the contribution at the face center, comes out to be 3. So total number of atoms in face centered will be 1 plus 3, that's 4. 4 is the number of atoms in face centered cube. Similarly, now we are going to have the look at the last non-primitive unit cell, that is called as end-centered unit cell. So in end-centered, we will draw the constituents first of all at the corners, total 8 corners, and at 2 opposing faces we are going to draw 2 more atoms. So this is my first face and this is going to be my opposing face. So any 2 opposing faces can be chosen and atoms can be situated over there. So when we draw it, 2 faces have to be covered, and when we talk about the contribution at the face, it will be 1/2. 1 atom shared by 2 cubes, so it's going to be 1/2. So the total number of atoms here are going to be at the corners, as we have understood so far, 1/8 into 8 gives you 1, and at the faces, since at the face center we had the contribution of 1/2, but right now we have only 2 faces because we have taken 2 faces, so 2 into 1/2, alright, because it's going to be shared by 2 unit cells, so 1. So total number of atoms is going to be 2. So please remember, these are the 3 non-primitive cells. Let us now understand what are the parameters of a unit cell. What are the characteristics of a unit cell? With this particular diagram, the position which we are using to indicate the location of an atom, these positions are going to be known as lattice point. So what is a lattice point? A lattice point is the point which indicates the position of a constituent. So it can be anywhere, it can be at the corner, it can be at the face center, it can be at the body center, and when we join these points, we get a particular geometrical pattern. When the centers of these constituents are joined, we get geometrical pattern or geometrical lattice. And how do we characterize a particular unit cell? If we repeat it again and again, we get a big crystal known as space lattice, or it can be called as crystal lattice as well. Example, if you consider that you have taken a small unit cell which looks like a cuboid, and if you repeat this cuboid in all the 3 dimensions, you will get a big cuboid, which will be my big crystal lattice or space lattice. So the tiny unit cell eventually becomes a big crystal lattice or space lattice. Now, please remember these small definitions. If for your exam they are very important. So lattice points can be at the corners. Now what is the contribution at corner? We will just recapitulate. 1/8 is the contribution at the corner. At the face, the contribution of atom is 1/2 because it's being shared by 2 unit cells. And at the body, if you have an atom, the contribution is whole or complete. So that should be remembered because the body center cell will have an atom inside. So that's the complete knowledge about what were the cells and what were the unit cells. Face centered, body centered, end centered were the 3 types of non-primitive unit cell, and we had the last category, the simple one or the primitive unit cell. That's all from this video. Keep on watching. If you like the video, click on that and you may subscribe as well. Keep studying. Take care. Bye bye.